Hello, my name is Nico Smoke, and I love women. I like them, I love them, I want some more of them. But Hollywood doesn't really, or if they do, they got a funny way of showing it. Movies are great for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that they act as sort of time capsules. You can watch a movie from 30, 40, 50 years ago and get at least a general sort of idea of what that society was like by watching that movie, even if it's like a sci-fi futuristic movie like Blade Runner or 2001: A Space Odyssey. One way that that is very obvious is with how women are represented. In older movies, women are hardly even characters, they're more like props. Obviously, there are exceptions to every rule, but generally, women are often the love interest, the damsel in distress to be rescued, the prize to be won, usually inseparably tied to a male character in some sort of way, usually romantic. They are there to be gawked at. They are eye candy, sex symbols, more traditionally feminine and in more traditional gender roles. Even over the years, as female characters were given more character and more to do, they were very often still put in those traditional roles, given those traditional traits, or still in some way tied to a man. But in somewhat recent history, there's been a rise in popularity of a certain trope for female characters that is directly in response and contradictory to the traditional roles for women in movies. And that is what is colloquially referred to as the strong female character. It seems like these male movie execs sort of picked up on the fact that people weren't too pleased with how women were represented. They're like, okay, what do we do to fix this? We just make them men. We just take these female characters and make them super masculine, not really into romance and girly things, super physically strong and buff and cool. Not like women are. Strong female characters give off the same vibes of pick-me's and not like other girls. Women who, in an attempt to get male validation, morph themselves to be more like men. The strong female characters trope reinforces the idea that femininity equals weakness. But there are two characters in pop culture who are very traditionally feminine and have been very often placed in traditional female roles that have recently gotten movie adaptations where those roles were sort of shifted. These two characters are Barbie and Princess Peach. So in this video, I want to explore both of these adaptations as well as the characters themselves and really talk about what makes an actual strong female character. Just as a disclaimer, this is not going to be like a full movie review for these movies. And also, before anyone's like, oh, just another man on the internet talking about women's issues, I actually have 20 years of experience in living as a woman. So, tried it, wasn't for me, but I hope that does give me some sort of authority to speak on what it's like to be a woman. Let's just jump right into it. Jesus. So, unless you have been living under a rock, I am sure you are in some way familiar with the characters of Princess Peach and Barbie. Both characters in their early stages pretty perfectly encapsulate what I was talking about with how women characters used to be treated. Princess Peach used to be known in the early games as Princess Toadstool, and she was essentially just there to be kidnapped by Bowser so Mario could rescue her, and that was it. And Barbie, on the other hand, was basically just a glorified mannequin. She was there to be skinny and pretty and wear cool clothes.
Barbie's small and so petite, her clothes and figure look so neat. Her dancing outfit rings the bell. At parties she will cast a spell. Someday I'm gonna be exactly like you. Till then I know just what I'll do. Barbie, beautiful Barbie. I'll make believe that I am you.
You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
Over time, these characters have gotten to be a lot more complex. They've sort of come into their own as characters in general, but they are still very traditionally feminine in a lot of ways. Barbie still loves shopping and clothes, and she still has her boyfriend, Ken, who is, if anything, just an accessory, but still, she is romantically tied to a man who is not at all gay.
My Barbie sense tingles whenever Barbie needs my super-powered boyfriend abilities.
It's the middle of the day, Kenny boy. Don't you have a job?
If a real man has a real job, then I'm getting a real job. I'm never gonna have a real job.
Hey, Barbie home?
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Kenny boy.
Wait a second. Being Barbie's boyfriend is my calling.
Hey, Ken, what are you doing? Let go.
Whoa!
By the same time, she is a boss babe. She has worked pretty much any job imaginable.
What was Barbie's 37th career? Stewardess. Well, I guess the modern term is flight attendant. Skipper's gonna be great. Sure, she's been fired a few dozen times, but who hasn't? Well, I haven't. But to be fair, who's gonna fire me?
If you haven't seen it already, you need to watch Barbie Life in the Dream House. It's not a very long show. I'm pretty sure it's only one season. But the way it portrays Barbie is so great. I just really like the more modern interpretations of Barbie. Like, she can be very feminine and girly and still, like, have strength. Peach is also still very traditionally girly and is still very much treated as the damsel in distress in a lot of the games. But, I don't know, it's sort of got more of a vibe of, like, this is just, like, the 9 to 5 for her, like getting kidnapped by Bowser. It's just kind of like routine. There's also some sort of like underlying self-awareness, I think, in her character. I don't believe that she's truly just an airhead. Like, she's the princess of the Mushroom Kingdom. The Toads fucking adore her, so clearly she must be doing something right. And like, running a kingdom's hard work. Like, it's not easy.
If you can stand up to really mean people, maybe you have what it takes to be a princess. Your mission? To use fire, wind, and water to save Mario and Luigi. Super Princess Peach, only on Nintendo DS. Rated E for everyone.
Peach can use the power of Stella's ribbon to face off against the Sour Bunch. Peach transformed into Sword Fighter Peach. By transforming, she can use fantastic show-stopping abilities. Valuable artifacts from this museum have gone missing. Become Detective Peach, investigate clues, and track down whodunit. Desserts have been snatched from this sweets festival. Turn into Patissiere Peach and save it from a sugar crash. The Sour Bunch got their hands on this martial arts school. Become Kung Fu Peach and take it back from these foul fiends.
So even though both characters are traditionally feminine in a lot of ways, and they've both developed a lot over the years, Barbie has tended to lean more in the, like, feminist route, especially with the "you can be anything" line that's basically just giving the message to young girls of you can be anything, you can do whatever you want to do. While Mario doesn't really seem to care to do that as much, at least it's not a main focus of like the messaging of the games or whatever. And even though Peach has developed as her own character, she still more often than not is placed in the damsel in distress or the love interest roles. So now that we've taken a bit of a look back at the history of these beloved characters, let's talk about how they were adapted in their respective movies. Adapting any beloved character to the big screen is already a bit of a tall order, but especially with characters like Barbie and Peach, who have such a long history and such devoted fans. And on top of that, given the fact that they are women, it requires a delicate touch. The Barbie movie is very clearly focused on women, the experience of being a woman, how society has treated women, Barbie's role in all of that. So, like, they clearly paid more attention to those aspects. So we'll start with the bad and go from there.
I am just like every other girl. It's the small joys in life, and don't you ever try to take that from me by telling me that I'm just like other girls. You bet your sweet ass I am, brother.
Now, I do not expect excellent writing from Illumination, as no one should. But the way they chose to portray Peach in the Super Mario Bros. Movie is so baffling to me. Because I feel like with all the other characters, they really like paid attention to making them similar to their game counterparts. Bruh. At least in sort of like their basic personalities. But Peach is a completely different character. She has no personality. She is just strong female character. As I mentioned before, Peach is very girly. She's very feminine. She's kind of airheaded and ditzy and yada yada yada. Things that are very traditionally associated with women. They were likely afraid that if they did adapt Peach as she is, then people would be mad and say that, like, she's not feminist enough. I don't know. Instead of adapting her as she is, and if anything, fleshing her out more, they just forced her into the strong female character mold. Like, she looks like Peach, but she doesn't talk like Peach, she doesn't act like Peach, nothing else about her is like Peach. If anything, she's a bit of a Mary Sue.
Watch and learn. No one gets it right away. Oh, so many. I was not good at it. Worse than you.
I do like that they explore a little bit more into her, like, being a monarch, but, like, she doesn't have to be, like, this mega badass to, like, be that sort of character.
Together, we'll annihilate that monster. Our days of terror are almost over. And with your strength, we can win to the Mushroom Kingdom and the biggest fight of our lives.
She is still physically feminine, but all of her feminine personality traits have been completely wiped. To be perfectly clear, there is not anything wrong with that. There is not anything wrong with a woman who is physically feminine but has a masculine personality or is just overall very masculine. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I love me some muscle mommies, don't get me wrong. It's not Peach, is what I'm trying to say. Who does that benefit? That's what I want to know. Who does that benefit taking a character that is traditional but a character and replacing them with a shallow husk that checks off all these boxes that they think people want in a character, that they think makes that character strong? In an attempt to take women out of the box that they have historically been put in, they put them in another box of what strong women should be like. Strong women can't be like women, they have to be like men. But men can be strong in ways that are not traditionally masculine. Like, men can be strong and also be emotional. Men can be strong and also care about their families or whatever. But, like, when it comes to women, suddenly they think that the rules are different. Women are human beings in the same way that men are. There is no different set of rules. Obviously, like, society wants you to believe that men and women are complete opposites, but that's just not true. Men and women and others all have a mix of masculine and feminine traits, characteristics, whatever. That's just the human experience. We are not all one thing or the other. Strength is not defined by physical strength or masculinity. It's defined by being in touch with your emotions and knowing how to properly deal with them. It's being someone that other people can rely on. It's knowing when to ask for help. Those things make someone strong. It's a lot more complex than just being masculine. You can be strong and be feminine at the same time.
Hello, it's Editing Nico. I just had a few more points that I wanted to add in really quick to just sort of round off this section before we move on to Barbie. So, I don't know if I've made it clear enough, but I adore Princess Peach. She, as a character, is really not all that complex, even now. But when you think about it, none of the Mario characters really are. Like, they're kind of just, like, limited to pretty basic, like, roles or personality traits, characteristics, whatever. Like, Luigi's a coward, Mario's the sort of silent protagonist, Bowser's, like, aggressive and he's the bad guy. Like, that's pretty much like as far as they go. But clearly, like in the movie, they wanted to like explore those characters more. So even though Peach isn't like a super strong character, like that doesn't mean that she can't have depth. Like clearly they tried to give the other characters depth in the movie, and I guess they sort of try with Peach, but it doesn't work because she's not Peach. Like they took a generic badass action movie star and then like put them in Peach's clothes. And like that's the character and they're trying to pass it off as Peach like we wouldn't notice. Obviously, like the main point that I want to make with this video is that you can be strong and feminine at the same time, like I mentioned. But you can also be feminine and weak. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a girl's girl, being traditionally feminine or like wanting a traditional gender role, wanting like a man to take care of you, like aspiring for like a white picket fence life. Like there's nothing wrong with these things inherently. Like there's nothing wrong with being a stereotypical woman. It's when it's presented as the only option or the best option or the right option that it becomes an issue. The difference with Peach comes with her being a character in media that is, whether they intend to or not, providing representation for women. We have had our fill of traditional women characters. I don't blame them for wanting something a little bit more complex than that, but the execution is all wrong. Peach didn't have to be a completely different character to be a strong character. An interesting direction that I think they could have taken with Peach's character is not erasing her femininity, but making it her weapon, which is something that they use in the Barbie movie, which I'll mention when we get there. They could have had her appear to be this like traditional sort of bimbo character that can't seem to do anything on her own, but in actuality make her like very intelligent and cunning and have her use the fact that people underestimate her to her advantage. But, you know, that would take some writing, and it's just much easier to check off some boxes. Why make a female character with nuance when you can just recycle the same old male character tropes and it's seen as something innovative? Like, you can have her be a girl boss, you can have her be cool without just like making her like super generic, which I hope is something that Princess Peach Showtime is going to prove, that Peach can stand alone as her own character. I did see something that is slightly concerning to me, that I hadn't known about, which is that apparently after the Super Mario Brothers movie was released, they changed the art for Princess Peach Showtime to show her like more angry and determined, like the Peach in the movie is often portrayed, which I hope is not a sign that they're completely changing the direction of her character to be more like the movie, because she doesn't have to be an angry badass. Like, she really doesn't. She can be girly and still kick ass at the same time. I hope I'm making sense. I'm sure I've repeated myself, but anyway, now we're gonna move on to Barbie.
Oppenheimer is based on a 721-page Pulitzer Prize-winning book about the Manhattan Project. And Barbie is on a plastic doll with big boobies.
Let's talk about Barbie. Barbie, compared to even her Life in the Dream House counterpart, it's a pretty different character. Still, like her doll and show counterparts, she is very feminine. She likes clothes and makeup and all these things. But this Barbie world very much echoes the more recent direction that the brand has taken, the you can be anything thing. In Barbie Land, women are in charge. Men are placed in the same roles that traditionally women have been placed in. The Barbies being feminine is not seen as a detriment to their strength and power and authority. If anything, it's directly correlated to it and symbolic of it. The whole crisis at Barbie Land occurs because Ken discovers the patriarchy and brings all these male-centered masculine ideas back to Barbie Land and paints this traditionally masculine filter over everything.
I've never seen a car like that before. What happened here?
Everything, basically everything, exists to expand and elevate the presence of men.
The way that the characters essentially defeat the patriarchy in Barbie Land is by weaponizing their femininity, their womanhood. They become more seductive and flirtatious. They act airheaded as if they need a man to think for them.
Oh, Photoshop is so hard. I just don't understand how to use the select tool.
Honey, you can only use the select tool if the layer is highlighted. Let me show you.
Here, let me show you.
Here,
Let me show you.
here, let me show you. Here, let me show you.
Here, let us show you.
The way that the mom unbrainwashes the Barbies is by talking about the experience of being a woman.
You have to be their mommies, but not remind them of their mommy. Any power you have must be masked under a giggle. You have to find a way to reject men's advances without damaging their egos. Because if you say yes to them, you're a tramp. But if you say no to them, you're a prude.
And even that in and of itself, being emotional, being in touch with your emotions and sharing them openly is seen as something that is a weakness. But in this case, it's literally what allows them to win. But you don't need to make a movie about being a woman to have a woman that is both feminine and strong. But to do that, you have to acknowledge that women are people. That like men, they have their own wants and needs, aspirations, that they have a blend of masculine and feminine traits, that there are other ways to be strong than just by being a man. You can be strong and be feminine at the same time. They are not mutually exclusive. And, most importantly, you can be strong without being tied to a man. One of the things that I love the most about the Barbie movie and this interpretation of Barbie in general, it's that she doesn't give a shit about Ken in a romantic way. It further enforces the idea of Ken being an accessory to Barbie, not the other way around.
You can go now.
I thought I might stay over tonight.
I don't want you here.
Mm-hmm. Is it Ken?
Even when the executive dude is saying that her and Ken are meant to be together, that that's how it's supposed to be, she's just like, no, I don't feel that way. And she is confident and unwavering in that throughout the entire movie. Her strength comes not just from being a woman, but from being herself. Like, she is her own character, with or without Ken, with or without the other Barbies, even. Like, it is a movie about Barbie. It does suck that Ryan Gosling basically stole the show through that whole movie. But, I mean, he's more so just the comedic relief, and the real emotional weight falls on Barbie.
You're so beautiful. I know it.
I love that movie. I really do. It does get a bit preachy and do a thing I hate where it's like, let's have a character be smart by like saying a bunch of big words and like whatever.
You set the feminist movement back 50 years. You destroyed girls' innate sense of worth, and you are killing the planet with your glorification of rampant consumerism.
The heart of it's still there. She is strong, feminine, and a woman. Essentially what I'm trying to say with pointing out these movies and the differences in how they adapt these feminine characters. Take a shot every time I say the word feminine or traditional or woman in this, you will fucking die. I just want to show that being feminine is not a bad thing. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less than. Even if you are a man who is feminine. But I don't think Hollywood's ready for that. We gotta accept that women can be feminine before we can accept that men can be feminine. People still don't like that men paint their nails sometimes. But yeah, women are great. And women that are feminine or not, or a mix of both, are valid. I don't know. No, I mean, that's pretty much it.